Hi there Booktube, it's Eleanor here and it's time for what I've read this week. I've had a really good reading week, mainly because of the TBR takedown and the Genrethon readathons that I took part in. I find a good readathon really pushes me to sit down and read, and when I sometimes think, shall I just veg out and do nothing, my brain goes, no, you're doing a readathon, read a book, and I'm always pleased that I do. It's just getting myself sat down and snuggled up and getting into a good book. So it's been a really good reading week. But before we get into all of that, this week I want to shout out the lovely Laura from Booktube channel Boundless Books. Laura's relatively new to Booktube. She's only been doing it about 4 months, but I'm really enjoying watching her videos. She's really interesting. She reads a lot of science fiction and fantasy stories, both YA and adult, and I'm really enjoying discovering some new books through her channel. She started her channel off with her sort of top 10 favourite books, which I really enjoyed because it gave me a bit of an insight into her and the types of things she likes to read. So I thought that was a really great way to start her channel off. And I just think she deserves more love. So go check her out. I'll link her down below. And if you like what you see, subscribe. So that's Laura from Boundless Books. So let's get into the books that I read this week. It's really exciting because I actually had a couple of 5-star reads this week. And it's been a while since I've had some really good 5-star reads. So my first 5-star read is Emma by Jane Austen. I was reading this along with some other lovely booktubers as a buddy read during the Genrethon, and it was just brilliant. Emma seems to be one of those Jane Austen novels, unlike Pride and Prejudice, which most people really adore. That's sort of hit and miss. Emma isn't a particularly likeable character. She's quite selfish and quite self-indulgent, and she's lived a life where she's sort of got her own way and she meddles in people's businesses, and so she can be an unlikable character, but I just really loved this story. Also, when I finished it, I watched the TV 4-part adaptation, which was brilliant and really sort of cemented the characters for me and gave me sort of a different insight into the story, and I just thought it was really well done, and I can't recommend this highly enough. I am so pleased I'm finally getting into Jane Austen. Next, I decided to pick up some graphic novels because I was in the mood to read something a bit lighter, and so I picked up Low volumes 1 and 2. I didn't know an awful lot about this, apart from the fact it's sort of set really deep down under the sea. Now in this, the artwork wasn't necessarily to my taste. I prefer sort of crisper lines, sharper colours, so unfortunately the artwork wasn't quite to my taste in volume 1. However, I found in volume 2 the artwork style seemed to change somewhat, and it used brighter colours, and there was definitely crisper lines in the drawing. So volume 2 I really enjoyed the artwork much more. The story is set deep under the sea, where humanity now lives after some sort of radiation has caused it. They're not able to live above the ground. They live under these sort of radiation safe bubbles, and a probe has appeared, which they haven't seen for hundreds of thousands of years, which could potentially tell them of a planet where it is safe for them to live. And also sort of time is running out in order for this. They're dying, their shields are stopping working, everything is sort of going to pot. This is very dark, very sexual. There is a lot of sex scenes in this, so be warned. Yeah, it's very explicit both in its language and in its depiction of sex, and there's orgies and things, so it is very sexually explicit. The first volume, because of the artwork and the story, just didn't quite get there for me, but I did really enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars. But this story really came into its own in volume 2. I gave volume 2 5 stars. I really loved the artwork, and the storyline in this really got going, and so much so that I gave this one 5 stars, and I pre-ordered volume 3. So if you've read volume 1 before and you were like, it's all right, I definitely recommend that you try and give volume 2 a go. I was so pleased I'd picked both of them up, because had I just had volume 1, I may not have ever carried on with this, and it would have been such a shame, because volume 2 really set the ball rolling, and I can't wait now to pick up volume 3. So next I picked up Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This is on the shortlist for the SFF Awards, so I needed to get to this. I'd been putting it off because I read Shadow and Bone and I wasn't a fan. I didn't carry on with the rest of the Grisha trilogy, and I was a little worried, A, that I wouldn't be able to read this and understand it, and B, that because I didn't like Shadow and Bone, I wouldn't like Leigh Bardugo's writing. But I was pleasantly surprised. I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed the story much more than Shadow and Bone. I enjoyed the characters and the plot. It's sort of a heist story about a band of thieves who've got different sort of abilities, and their sort of leader, and them trying to break someone out of an impenetrable prison. I needn't have worried about not understanding things. I'm sure if I had read the whole of the Grisha trilogy, I would have had a better understanding of certain aspects of the magical system and some of the world, but it really didn't matter. I didn't need it in order to enjoy the story and to understand it all. So I'm really pleased I read this. It's not going to be my pick for the category of YA because there is one that I like better, but more about that in an SFF awards video soon. But I did give this one 4 stars, and I'll definitely be continuing with the series. Next, I picked up Counting Stars by Kara Stainton. I was really excited to read this. It's a YA contemporary story, and I really enjoyed it. It's a story involving strong friendships, which was really nice. There is some romance aspects in there, but they're really not the main point of the plot. We're following our main protagonist as she moves to Liverpool. I think she's just 18. She moves to Liverpool to take up a position working at a theatre company that she's done some intern work experience with, and unfortunately she arrives, she moves in with a group of housemates, and then she finds out that the job is no longer there, and it's about what she does, how she grows as a person, moving out of home for the first time, family dynamics, living with strangers, forming friendships, all of those things. And I just thought it was really lovely. It wasn't unrealistic. I could imagine these characters being real. I could imagine these situations being real, and I really enjoyed it for that, and so I gave it 4 stars. Next, I picked up my McSweeney's issue 8 edition. I'm not sure if this has been in a book haul before, but it'll be in a future one so you can see it in a bit more detail. But this is made up of a number of little books that form pictures together, which are all short stories by different authors, and I was really excited to try McSweeney's Quarterly Concern. I've never read any of their things before. This is a second-hand copy, so there's a little bit there that's not working, but I was disappointed with this. The short stories just didn't hit the mark for me. I think I lost a lot of their meaning, and they were okay, but just average for me, unfortunately. Not great, and so I gave this 2 stars. And the final book that I completed this week is probably my favourite, and that is A Song for Issy Bradley by Cara Spray. If you've watched my channel for a while, you'll know that I fell in love with Cara Spray's short story collection Sweet Home, which I read recently-ish, a couple of months ago, and gave 5 stars. It's the first short story collection I've ever given 5 stars to. I absolutely loved it, and this was no exception. Cara Spray's writing is beautiful, and this story is so moving and poignant and interesting, and I just can't sing its praises highly enough. It's the story of a family. They are part of the Mormon faith, which in itself I found very interesting. I don't have any knowledge of Mormon religion, and I found it really interesting to find out about that. And one of the daughter in the story, one of the youngest daughters, dies very early on in the story, so that's not a spoiler, and it's about the family learning to cope. We follow different points of view, from the children to the father to the mother, and it was such a beautiful story, and I don't think I realised quite how emotional I was feeling until the last few pages, where I was bawling like a baby, and that doesn't happen an awful lot in stories for me, and it's just wonderful. I just urge anybody and everybody to read this. It's a definite 5 stars from me, and it will be going straight on my shelf, my special 5-star shelf. I shall not be getting rid of this. I shall be looking for the next Cara Spray book to get my teeth stuck into. I can't wait. There's a new one coming out soon, which I'm hoping to get my hands on so that I can delve straight into it, because I absolutely adore her writing. So that's what I've read this week, and I'm currently reading books as part of the Author-a-thon, so I'm currently reading some of those, and I will get back to you next week on how I did with that and the books that I have read. I hope you're having a good reading week, and I look forward to hearing if you've read any of these and what your thoughts are on them and what you're reading at the moment. And also go and check out Laura at Boundless Books, because I think you'll love her channel, and subscribe and show her some Booktube love if you do like what you see. Okay, that's it from me. Bye for now, Booktube.